This episode is brought to you by Snapple. Want to know another Snapple fact? The first hot air balloon passengers were a sheep, a duck, and a rooster. Ridiculous. Check out Snapple.com to find ridiculously flavored Snapple near you.
What is Cafe Mocha? Cafe Mocha is experts, celebrities.
What's up? This is Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yours truly, Idris Elba.
This is Fantasia.
This is In Vogue.
This is India Ari.
So much more. All from a woman's perspective.
What flavor are you, baby?
This is Cafe Mocha.
Cafe Mocha with Lonnie Love, Yo-Yo, and me, Angelique. Comedian Tacarra Williams is with us. She talks about life on the road with Katt Williams. Plus, who wants to cruise the Mediterranean on Disney Cruise Line? Details on the way.
Now, for those that don't know you, Tacarra Williams, she was a former school teacher, a plus-size model, motivational speaker. She's a writer that's known throughout the comedy industry as the beautiful beast. And from the moment she picks up a microphone until the time she walks off stage, audiences can feel the laughter erupt. Tacarra, was it hard for you being a female? Did you see a difference in doing and, actually navigating the industry?
I did notice the difference between the men and the women. I think one of the main things I noticed was that there weren't as many women. I noticed that, one of the main things I noticed was, it was almost like they always had to prep the crowd that a female was coming to the stage.
Yes.
Are you ready for a female comic? You ready to hear a female perspective? Y'all ready for a woman? Just bring me up, please.
Thank you.
Jesus. I realized that I would get offered a lot more shows than most because I'm attractive. There was this expectation of, you can't be pretty and funny. If women talked about sex on stage, you were copping out. That's too easy. There was just so many rules for women. I know now in this day and age, there's a lot of rules and a lot of, everybody just feels the way they're in their feelings about certain things. Everything's so sensitive. But for women in comedy, it was like this years ago. It's been like this. Don't talk about sex or nobody's going to take you serious. Don't talk about your kids or bad relationships or because nobody's going to. It's just so many rules. And I used to listen to the men do comedy, and I'm like, but they talking about it. Well, that's different. The men can. But if you talk about it, then nobody's going to take you serious and stand up. And I was just like, oh, and I kind of built my stand-up set based on, those concepts that were taught to me early on in comedy.
It's Cafe Mocha on the line, talking to comedian Tacarra Williams.
Oh.
And, we cannot diddle daddle with comedy because comedy is I always describe it as a very hostile and aggressive occupation, especially for women. We have to be on. We have to, have the jokes. We have to have the material. And just of recently, we have this big conversation that was brought on about Katt Williams. Now, I do know that you're on the Katt Williams Dark Matter Tour. Congratulations. Can I say, I've been knowing everybody for 20 years. I've known everybody. I've opened for everybody. And the one thing I can say about Katt is that I actually started with him. We were down here in Hollywood at the, it was called the Hollywood Casino. And every Thursday, Katt would get on stage. He had his own show. He could do an hour and then he put us up for like 10 minutes and then he'd do another hour. And he just kept people going and it built up his career. Right now, we're dealing with this whole conversation of comedy and, what's going on with it. What is, as a woman in this game, how do you feel about what's being said and what's going on?
I think the world is too sensitive. I think that I understand the sensitivity in some areas, but for comics, just let us do our job. I think that the cancel culture is ridiculous, especially when it comes to stand-up comedians going on, because comedy is so subjective, especially for stand-up comedians going on stage and saying something, and because you don't agree with what they said or you're offended by something that they said, now that comedian has the possibility of being canceled. I think that, if I had to talk to any comedian today about, because I always get people asking me, I want to get into comedy, what advice would you give me? Just be funny. Like that was the number one thing that was told to me was, if you are undeniably funny, there is nothing that anybody can say. There is nothing that anybody can do. There is no situation that you can't get yourself out of. As long as you are undeniably funny, be kind, but still stand up for yourself. And in stand-up comedy, as a woman, it's so difficult because sometimes you just find yourself in positions and you just like, I remember I was in front of the Laugh Factory. I had hosted Chocolate Sundays, and I was doing like this little hosting gig outside on the camera. And this comedian came up to me and literally, Lonnie, humped my leg after the show in front of all the comedians. And as uncomfortable as I was, I said, "Hey, can you stop?" And he just kept saying, "Well, you look so fine. You look so good." And he just kept pulling his groin closer to my thigh. And I put my elbow in his chest because I'm shocked. And I'm like, "Can you stop?" And he just continued to do it. And all the male comedians are just watching. And the cameraman says, "Hey, she asked you to stop. Can you effing stop? Like, how many times does she have to ask you to stop?" And the guy goes, "Oh, I'm just joking with her." And the camera guy says, "I'm recording all of this."
Damn.
And he goes, oh, you recorded it? He goes, "Yeah, I'm recording it. I've recorded everything." "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, just playing with you. I'm sorry. So what was the question anyway?" And it's just like to sit there and not be protected by people who you consider your counterparts, your coworkers in the game. It was just crazy. So when it comes to female comedians, I always tell them, be mindful of who you work with. If you're hesitant about somebody, just say no and do your research. Because, this stand-up comedy for women, it can be really scary.
Tacarra Williams is our guest. More on the way. This is Cafe Mocha.
Standing in solidarity from a woman's perspective. It's Cafe Mocha.
Cafe Mocha, we're on the line with comedian Tacarra. Let's get back into it.
Katt is the first person I've toured with. I've done dates. You know how, Lonnie, you just do, you know how you just do dates with a comedian. Like, I've done a couple dates with D-Ray. I've done a couple dates with Bill Bellamy. But Katt is the first comedian that I've actually went on a tour with.
Wow.
And that's because I've always been nervous as a woman. I've done dates, but I've always been nervous as a female comic to actually go on the road because I would hear so many stories of women who just didn't have good road stories. Mm-hmm. And I would just be nervous about just going on the road. And when I got offered the opportunity to go on the road with Katt, I expressed to my agent, I was like, it was like a family barbecue. Like, well, who all gonna be there? And who cooking, And she just told me the lineup. She said it's going to be Mark Curry. It's going to be Tommy Davidson. Miss Pretty Ricky's on the lineup. Red Grant's hosting. Zoom Man opens. Little Mo performs. And I said, oh, it's like a whole thing. And she said, yeah, it's not just like you and Katt, And I was like, okay, I think I feel more comfortable with that. And now that I've been on the road with him for about 6 months, I absolutely love it. It is a family. I mean, from the security to Katt to Red Grant, it's just like a huge family on tour together. And I'm glad this was my first experience with touring, with actually really touring, because I was scared, girl.
No, I always tell, females when they get into the game, it's like, hey, don't do nothing crazy. Cause I've known, I've known females to sleep with, promoters and just to get on stage. I said, no, first thing, I ain't doing that. I ain't gonna sleep and work. It's got to be one or the other.
Right. Lonnie, I got when I first moved to California, I got offered to go on the road, and the comedian said to me, I want to take you on the road with me. This was in front of the Improv. And I said, oh, I'm so excited. Of course. And he said, but what happens on the road stays on the road. And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'll get back to you. And I never got back to him. And I said, absolutely not.
Good for
People
you.
Crazy, girl.
That's the way you have to do, It's Cafe Mocha. We're talking to comedian Tacarra Williams. She's right now on the Dark Matter comedy tour with Katt Williams and a host of other people. Tacarra, were you surprised with how that podcast with Shannon Sharpe and Katt Williams blew up?
You know what? I thought, I'm surprised at how it blew up. Part of me is surprised, but part of me isn't, because, Katt hasn't done podcasts or media tours or anything, no promotion or anything for years. He hasn't been, on social media. I think he just got on Instagram like a couple of months ago, if not the middle of this year. He just got on Instagram. So the fact that he did a podcast and people haven't heard from him publicly in years, I think it was a really good play by Shannon Sharp to get him on. Because people may not say it, but Katt's been touring for years. So outside of him touring, he doesn't do much promotion for it. You don't hear from him. You don't see him. You don't hear from him. So I think pulling somebody in who publicly hasn't said a word to anybody in years was very strategic and very smart. I think that the fact that we have the Dark Matter tour happening right now, and I mean, it sells out. I mean, I'm talking thousands and thousands of people. It is the biggest crowd I've ever performed in front of in my life. I just think it was very strategic. I didn't know it was going to break the internet. That I didn't know. I didn't know my mama was going to call me about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even know my mama knew. I didn't even know she know how to work nothing, but she figured it out on the YouTube, as she would say. I didn't know it was going to be this big. I didn't know he was going to wake up and choose violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know that was what was going to happen.
It was like the first 7 minutes. I'm like, oh, like,
Lonnie, when I tell you I was on a plane and I get Wi-Fi on the plane and everybody's DMing me like this is blah, blah, blah with Katt. So I go to YouTube and I'm on the plane. Wait, baby, when I tell you I'm in first class, oh, wait a minute, wait. That's me yelling because I had on my headphones and I forgot I had on my headphones. Stop. Oh, this is good. Everybody is looking at me like, what's she watching? I said, this man crazy. I think I said this man crazy about 50 times. Oh, he crazy. Oh, they going to be mad. Oh, Lord. What? And the flight attendant said, you having a good time? I said, am I loud? He said, yes. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. But I'm watching something, so when you land, you need to watch this too. And there was just so much controversy. It's still so much controversy about it. And the crazy thing was that before the new year came in, I had caused some controversy on social media because I put up my top 10 most attractive comedians.
I saw that.
Comedians.
I love it.
Babe, Lonnie, when I tell you the men was mad, I never seen men be so sassy. The sassiness came out of some of these male comics so fast. They were so angry that they didn't make the list. And I just said, it's a list. It's subjective. It's my list. It's the men that I think are attractive. If you didn't make it, it doesn't mean you're not attractive. It just means you're not attractive to me. And they were so mad. I was getting DMs and voice notes and messages and text messages of men who were just like, so I didn't make your top 10. And I said, well, you don't see yourself up there, do you?
You know what? This is the thing.
Then you didn't.
These cats have been in this business for over 20 something years. I listened to the whole podcast. And the thing that I tell people, I'm like, in the end, we all family. Everybody is allowed to tell their truth. Everybody's allowed to tell their side. They're allowed to tell their truth. But the thing is that we live in a very social media world that these older cats never had to deal with. And now they have to deal with this. And my thing is, I would say just don't engage because Katt gonna win.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, you know what I will say, Lonnie? What I will say is if you go back and you look, a lot of the people that he referenced in his interview had already done an interview and spoke on him. Yeah. Even if it was earlier this year or years ago, they had an opportunity to speak on him. And this is from someone who hadn't spoken on anybody in years. So when given the opportunity to sit in the same seat that the majority of those same people he referenced sat, you take it. And even though some people are saying, but he said this and he shouldn't have said this and they should have sat down as men, or maybe he should have came to them as men, a lot of them didn't come to him as a man when they felt whatever they felt and said what they said. They did it on a public platform. And what people don't understand is that when somebody attacks your character on a public platform, you can't handle that in private. You have to handle that publicly because you can, your social media, your fan base, that's your money.
Definitely.
They say Lonnie Love is going to be at the Orlando Improv for the weekend of January, blah, blah, blah. That's how you make your money. Those people buy those tickets to come out to see you. That's how we live. That's how we survive. So when somebody tries to assassinate your character on social media, on a public platform, it's really difficult when that public platform pays your bills to handle that in private.
Yeah, it definitely.
So
it was an eye opener, Tacarra. It was a straight up eye opener. But
when
like
I tell you,
said,
I watched it 3 times, Lonnie. You have an allegiance to losers. I mean, I had so many memes.
Have you heard from Katt? Have you heard from him?
I have not. I haven't, but I'm going to see him on Friday. But a lot of people have been DMing me, calling me, asking me, like, what do you think? What do you feel? And I'm just like, listen, I don't think Katt's perfect by far. I think that we've all made mistakes. I think we've all done things that we shouldn't have done, or made things that we might feel like we could have done better. I can't speak on those things because whatever version of Katt you're asking me about, I don't know that part of Katt. The Katt that I know is kind. He's fun. He's energetic. He's very hands-on with us in our stand-up and giving us tags for our jokes and just assisting us. He's more like a big brother to me. So I'm not saying that he's been great to everybody. I'm saying I can't give an opinion on what you feel about him because I don't know that version of that man. So, and I'm just so grateful he even mentioned my name. He said, Miss Pretty Ricky and Tacarra. And that's what my mama called me. She calling me, I'm on the plane. And I'm like, I can't answer because I'm on the plane, but I think you got a flip phone. How you even get to YouTube to see this? And she was like, Katt Williams said your name. I said, oh God, what did I do? As soon as somebody told me, I said, what I did wrong.
That goes to your hard work. And, I also want to say that, what Katt did, if people don't understand, it was marketing, it was comedy. So you have to take a lot of, that's why it was so intriguing for 2.5 hours. It was so intriguing because he gave you his truth, but then he added in comedy. And it's like, that just doesn't happen. That's called talent. That's called putting the work in. Over 20 years of work that he did. And like I said, we are all a comedy family. At the end of the day, you're going to like whatever comedian you're going to like. You're going to still go and support them. And I just think that, but I think what I love about it is that it has woken up the comedy industry. It's like, and get your material tight.
Girl, it more than woke him up. What's the girl said? You shaking the table. He done took the table and broke the legs off and threw it out the window. Like, it more than shook it up, but it's so controversial. And again, like I said in the beginning, I think it was very tactical. And I think it was a really smart move. And, I think right now on social media, it's at like YouTube, it's at like 40 million views. It hasn't even been a week.
Yeah. It's definitely something that's going to be talked about for ages. So
who does he have to get on the show to top it? Like, you got to get Rihanna on there. Like, you got to get Rihanna on there so she can talk about
Rihanna.
Man,
Solange.
You got to get Blue Ivy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Blue Ivy got to show us the dance right in front of her. She got to do the dance right there because I've been sitting here thinking, like, how does he top this? Who's next?
No, unless he gets one of the comics that he talked about. That's the only thing.
They can't double back so soon. It's too soon to double back.
I mean,
what you think?
If you're a professional, go on and do it. Go on and
what?
Don't be afraid.
I think if he got them together, I think if Shannon Sharp served as the mediator, and got them together to talk and have a conversation, I think if he got Kevin Hart and Katt Williams, since they're two of the biggest, if he were to get those two together to sit down and work on their differences, I think that would be the next big interview. But if it's like Katt and Cedric or Katt and, I mean, at this point, if he can get anybody, because he done named 37 people he didn't like and he was beefing with. So if he can get one of the 37,
he like them.
Bring me.
At the end of the day, he like them
bring
all.
me.
He just
Yeah, I
trolling
think
them.
they all love each other. Yeah, I think they all love each other.
They
I
all
think it's
making
love.
money.
I think that.
Everybody he
Thank you.
mentioned is working. Everybody he mentioned is working.
Thank
It
you.
has money. And this the last question I'm gonna ask you. This is how strategic Katt Williams is. He has booked Tori Hart, which is the ex-wife of Kevin.
Oh, girl.
Hart.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's strategic.
Part of me think it's strategic because Kevin's in a little bit of a mess now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it might take away from what he's got going on.
Mm-hmm.
To now everybody's paying attention to Tori.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see that she was going to be touring with us. I'm excited about it. I always love to have a new female on the tour because this year I'm the new female. So, you know, it's always exciting to see another woman being brought in and respected and paid appropriately for her time and her talent. So I'm excited to have her on the tour. But I do again think he's strategic.
Yeah.
You said whatever you said about Kevin Hart, and you like, hey, let me get you hey, Tori, what you got going on? You wanna hang out with us on the road?
That's
yeah,
strategic.
Come on. Your kids is big now. You know, you don't need to be home all the time. Come on out and get some of this. And she posted it and said yes, and I'm just like, ooh.
Yep.
Ooh, the ghetto.
How can we keep in contact with you, Tacarra Williams?
Oh, goodness. Follow me on all social media platforms, Tacarra Williams, Instagram, Tacarra Comedy, Tacarra, Tacarra.com. Everything's linked there. Thank you so much, ladies, for having me. I'm on the tour with Katt Williams, the Dark Matter Tour. February 26th, I have a show dropping on CW11 called Totally Funny Kids. Make sure that you tune in. It is a clip show. Very much like America's Home Funniest Videos, except for it's just kids and I am the host. So tune in. It's going to be a good time.
Oh, we love it.
For having me.
Thank you, especially on a short notice. So thank you, Tacarra Williams. Mm-hmm. We're going to keep in contact. You. Welcome back anytime to Cafe Mocha. Thank you, Tacarra.
Thank you.
Comedian Tacarra on Cafe Mocha Radio. Imagine yourself cruising through Europe for free. Go to cafemocharadio.com and get registered for a Disney cruise of the Mediterranean.
We're at Cafe Mocha Radio. Socially savvy on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Serving up more Cafe Mocha on the way. Standing in solidarity from a woman's perspective. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. Lonnie Love, Yo-Yo, I'm Angelique. Joining us to get us right is Tiffany, the Budgetnista. Her new book is called Made Whole, The Practical Guide to Reaching Your Financial Goals. Hi, Tiffany. Welcome back.
Hi, ladies. Thanks for having me.
You know what? In 2021, you made the book Get Good with Money. And that saved a lot of souls. So now this is like an extension, Made Whole. Why do we need this book, Tiffany, and why did you write it?
Well, when I wrote Get Good with Money, it's because I came up with a system called financial wholeness, which is these 10 steps that if you master them, you will be able to be all right no matter what happens. You lose your job, you'll be all right. Inflation is high, you'll be all right. A recession comes, you will be all right. And what I realized is that, you know, people looked at Get Good with Money as this awesome textbook, but a lot of people weren't getting to the work, you know, and so I wanted to create a companion book where there's this workbook. So many people know I used to be a school teacher for over 10 years and I have my master's in education. So I thought, what if I represented these same 10 steps, budgeting, savings, debt, credit, income, investing, insurance, your financial team, your net worth, and estate planning, these same 10 financial wholeness steps. But with each step, I show you what the step looks like when completed, and then I give you a chance in the book to do the work. So it's like, don't keep reading. Do the work now, because when you do the work now, when you write things down, when you put it into action, then you're more likely to stick with it and see change. And so that's why this book is different.
So this is a workbook. I'm holding it up for Angelique to see. It's an actual workbook, and in it you can actually do the steps, and it's a nice thick, where it's not small. You can actually write in it, so it's sort of like a notebook. Plus, this is genius. I'm like, I really do like this. Like here, you can do it. So I love that part. Tiffany, what made you come up with this concept?
Because so many people came to me, and there's so many people who teach online. They teach about kind of like getting rich quick, or, how to make $1 into $1 million. And I thought, well, there might be 0.01% people that might happen for, and great for them. But what happens to everybody else? What happens to those who are teachers and nurses and stay-at-home moms? And so if you don't make your $1 bajillion dollars, so what does that mean for your life? Does that mean that you don't get to enjoy safety and security and vacation? What does that mean? And so there were too many people that I helped. So many women in particular. My audience is largely Black women. I've helped nearly 2 million women in the last 15 years. And most of them are just regular, everyday women who are brilliant and smart and who needed guidance to how to live their normal financial life. And so I was like, I'm going to create something that can help them. And the textbook version of Made Whole, Get Good with Money, sold nearly 300,000 copies in its first 2 years. So what it told me was there's a need for this. And so I'm like, oh no, we're gonna dig deeper with Made Whole.
I love that.
Cafe Mocha, we're talking to Tiffany, the Budgetnista. I feel like whenever I hear financial information, I feel like you have to be making money, decent money, to participate in this. How wrong am I?
You don't. Well, for many of the books that are out there, that is the case. But I literally have a part of the book that says, what happens if you're broke? Because I have been broke, right? Because people say broke. Broke is when you're like, ooh, I don't got no money. But, if you dig in your purse, you might find $1. If you look in your 401k, there's some money there. But broke is when there are no pennies in the cushion seats.
Right.
There's no 401k. There is nothing. I have been there when it's like
talk about that. I want to talk about how you were broke, and then you got yourself back together.
Yeah, and it wasn't fast. So the recession happened. I lost my job. Right before I lost my job, I had gotten my master's, which is $52,000. Right before that, I thought I was super grown, and I bought myself a condo in my mid-20s, and I had a mortgage of $220,000. Right? And then I said, I want to learn to invest. And so, of course, I chose a scam artist who I thought was a friend of mine to teach me. And it ended up me being $35,000 in credit card debt that I was liable for. So I went from like no debt to a mortgage, student loans, and credit card debt. And then I lost my job. So I said, oh, so I drained my savings to try to save my condo. Then I drained my 401k. Because I was still in my 20s, and so I had a few, maybe like $20,000, $30,000 in there to try to save my condo. I still ended up losing it to foreclosure, and so I was broke. There was no money hidden in the cushions of my car. There was nothing. There was no backup savings, and I just remember thinking, what do you do when you're at your like at the bottom? And so you have to I had to tell people. Because you are not meant to go through this thing by yourself. And for me, it was my best friend, Linda, who I was like, I needed to release the shame I was feeling for being broke. And two, I had to ask for help. Sometimes asking for help is getting on WIC, getting on assistance. Sometimes asking for help is seeing if your sister will let you move in and sleep on the couch. Sometimes asking for help is, are your parents still living? Are they close enough for you to go back to your middle school bed? That's what I did. Sometimes asking for help is to see if your best friend, will let you crash for a moment. Like there are moments, I know financial people will want me to give like, well, then, you add the 1 plus the 2 and then your budget. No, sometimes it looks like I need to get to a safe place where I'm not outside. And so that was the first step. Is like, where can I safely lay my head for a period of time, And then I looked for any assistance I could find. I was on unemployment. Thank God during the recession, they extended it. Usually unemployment is like 6 months to a year. Because it was a recession, a global recession, the federal government stepped in and extended unemployment. So I was like, I mean, unemployment was my saving grace. And I babysat everybody's baby. I said, you know, you want to go out this weekend. Let me watch the baby. You know? I tutored everybody's child. Like, I mean, I remember I told somebody I could tutor Spanish. I mean, with my high school students, I'm like, hola, me llamo. I mean, I was doing everything I could, because that's what it looks like when you're broke, you know? And then when I got just a little bit on my feet, I had to rent a room. I was in my 30s. This is not, 27-year-old Tiffany. No, I was renting a room like I just came home. So it was an uncomfortable experience. But when you're broke, it might look like that temporarily. The main thing to remember when you're broke is that if you keep at it, you won't stay there. But it was years. It was from age 29 to 33 that I was in that space. So it wasn't like, oh, it was 6 months. No. And the only thing that kept me going is I just had to keep remembering, you won't always be here. You won't always be here. It was times when I cried because I was like, I had more money at 16 than I do at 30. Because at 16, I had a little job. You know, I was working at the library, so I had like $1,000 saved. I wish I could borrow that $1,000 from that 16-year-old Tiffany.
Here's your dose of espresso. Strong, hot news now.
This is the Espresso. Hate crimes against Black people are on the rise, and Roland Martin says it's time to do something.
We've heard over the last, couple of months, members of Congress push bills, talk about what's happening on college campuses. They say that Jewish students are unsafe. I need to see Black caucus members raising a ruckus saying do more to protect Black folks when it comes to hate crimes.
Sports Illustrated celebrates the 60th anniversary of its swimsuit edition with women of all races, ages, and sizes, including Oprah's best friend, Gayle King.
It was never my dream because I never thought I had a shot at anything like this.
Did you get to see the movie Kamba on BET Plus? It's about a college girl who got wrapped up with a drug dealer.
When things escalated, he killed his best friend. I didn't know how to get out of that situation. And so standing in federal court, it really hit home when the judge said 294 months.
If you're in Atlanta, there's a screening of the movie Kemba on May 29th, 6 p.m. at Auburn Avenue Research Library on African American culture and history. That's the Espresso.
This is Cafe Mocha. Radio from a woman's perspective.
Cafe Mocha, Angelique, Lonnie Love, Yo-Yo. We're going to get serious here for a minute because you recently lost your husband.
Now, Tiffany, we want to give our condolences on the passing of your beautiful husband, Jarrell Smith. The question I have is that, when I saw it and we talked and the condolences and the sincerity, there are many, especially Black women, that are going through grief. How were you able to handle it and still move on?
Well, one, you never move on. I don't know that you can lose your partner or lose a child or lose a parent or sibling. Like I was thankful that I had already had an amazing Black therapist beforehand, that she was awesome, Dr. Green. I was working with her already. So, and then I stopped for like a few months. And so when Jarrell passed away, I reached out to her and I said, I don't think I'm going to make it. I need help. That is, if you don't take anything away from this interview, is you have to develop the ability to ask for help. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I need help. Was so helpful. And I still meet with her. In the beginning, for the first year and some change, we met weekly, and now we meet every other week. And she told me the other day, because his passing, he passed on November 15th, 2021. And so that was just a month ago. And I had a really hard time during that time. And I told her, I'm like, I'm having such a hard time. And she said, Tiffany, you don't get over this, right? Is that what you thought? You don't actually get over it. You learn to grow around grief. So if you are struggling with grief and you're waiting for like it to pass or you to move on, move forward, you're not. Like you will learn to live with it, but it's never going to go away. Not when you love somebody so much. And that is okay. And, I'm grateful to you, Lonnie, for like saying his name out loud, because I think sometimes people are afraid to say people's name, but it's like, no, Jarrell was this amazing husband, like an amazing father, just so kind, so supportive. And I felt lost without him. He provided such a level of security and support for me that it's what Dr. Green said is called the invisible force of what secure support looks like. It's like a good parent, when they raise a child, if that is a good parent, you will empower your child so much, the child feels like they're doing it on their own. That's what good support looks like. That you feel like you out here by yourself, and you're like, hey, look at me. And so that's what I thought. I was like, oh, I got a good husband, but like low key, I'm lit. So I'm gonna be lit either way, because I got this. I'm strong. I'm independent, but I'm also married. No, I didn't realize how much support that he gave me, that it was so good that I really thought I was out here by myself. Like, and it wasn't until it was gone that I realized how much I came to depend on him and lean on him. And I knew with him, I could never hit the ground because he was covering it for me. And so I had to relearn, how do I navigate out here without that safety net of support that he provided? And so it's been really hard for me to navigate. The one thing I will say is that it really gave me a spotlight on how important the work I do in this financial education space, because I am fortunate I get to just miss Jarrell, the person. Because we did what we were supposed to do financially, I didn't lose my husband and my house like so many people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it really put a barrier in my back. Like, Tiffany, this is why you do the work, because I got to focus on grief. I took almost a year away from work. People can't do that. How will you eat? Where will you sleep? I was able to do that because of the choices we made when he was here.
Cafe Mocha's ready to send a family of 4 on a European Disney cruise. 7 nights on the Disney Dream. Just go to cafemocharadio.com, click on the Disney banner, get registered.
Want a little more of our flavor? Stay right there. It's Cafe Mocha.
You've seen her in the Netflix documentary Get Smart with Money. We're talking to Tiffany the Budgetnista. Cafe Mocha, it's Lonnie Love, Yo-Yo. I'm Angelique. On the line, Tiffany the Budgetnista, who has a new book out, a workbook for us to get our money straight. Mm-hmm. Hey, Tiffany.
So, Tiffany, what are the top things that we need to be working on for our budget?
So, top things is start with what I like to call dreamscaping. So this is goal setting before setting goals. I want you to just imagine how you'd like your life to go in general. Like, I'd like to have more vacation time, more time with the kids. I'd like to travel more, whatever that is. Like, you get to dream big in the goal setting or the dreamscaping phase. So start with that. And then you ask yourself, what are some steps I can take this year to work toward that bigger dream that I have for myself? So because you're not going to accomplish it in 1 year. But if you say, I'd like to travel more, and you can imagine going Bali and going to Egypt and India and all these places, okay. So that's going to probably require some savings, but also some planning. So you might say to yourself, well, this is the year that I'm going to set aside enough money, for at least one trip. Or, this is the year I'm going to, I'm really responsible with my credit card and I pay it off every month in full, but it doesn't have rewards. So this is the year I'm going to switch to rewards credit card. Or, this is the year I'm going to join a Black girl travel group so I can learn all the tips and tricks, because nothing happens accidentally. If you're wanting a thing, this big dream, then you have to start to piece it together with these are the steps to get that thing done. I'm always asking myself, Tiffany, what's the big goal? And I will daydream like, I would really love to only work, 3 months out of the year. So what do I need to do now? I really love, to be able to spend more time with my nieces and nephews. So what do I need to do now? And so that's how you start off the year. And then you start to ask yourself, once you figure out the goals you want to hit for the year based upon your big dream, how do your finances play a role in that? Does it require savings? Does it require you making more money? Does it require you spending less money? The key is that you match your money to your life, not your life to your money. Because if I ask people, what are your goals? I want to make $1 million. Your life might only cost you $60,000 a year. And so you're going to overshoot your shot, exhaust yourself to try to make $1 million when what you really wanted would have cost you $60,000. And had you identified the life you wanted and matched the money to it, you wouldn't have to work as hard.
I am so happy for you. And thank you for taking some time to talk to us on Cafe Mocha.
No, thank you. Can I share where people can get the book if they like a copy?
Definitely.
So I'm the Budgetnista on all the social platforms, but if you like a copy of my new book, it is available where all books are sold, or you can go to madewholeworkbook.com.
Madewholeworkbook.com. It's a lovely book. Get it, y'all. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Cafe Mocha sending a family of 4 on a European Disney cruise for 7 nights. Go to cafemocharadio.com, click on the Disney banner, and get registered. Registration ends June 24th. That's the show. You can find us on all platforms at Cafe Mocha Radio. Cafe Mocha is a production of Miles Ahead Broadcasting in partnership with Super Radio. Executive producer Sheila Eldridge. For comments, booking, or more information, visit cafemocharadio.com.